Hey, folks, here we are back again. I'm back from the hinterlands where I've studied up on things so I can, debate my buddy here from Lovell, Maine, Tom McLaughlin. I'm Gino Funicello from Jackson. And with everything going on in the world and all the good things that are happening in our country, I have a question from top management to start the day.
I'm glad he does the introductions.
And you know, it's only 6 days till Christmas. This is amazing. It snuck up on me.
Have you been a good boy?
Got shopping to do yet.
Oh.
I buy my own presents for myself.
Oh.
That way I'm not surprised. I hate surprises. Here's one of those. Whew. Are you in favor of a government shutdown if the border wall doesn't get the $5 billion funding requested by President Trump?
Yes.
You're in favor of a shutdown? You've always
I'm in favor of doing whatever it takes to build a wall.
You know, I'll tell you, we've been doing the show almost 8 years, I think, and he's always been in favor of a government shutdown for any reason.
I think it's wonderful. I hope the government shuts down for an extended period of time, even if they do get the wall.
Like I said, I know where you're coming from because, I mean,
Yeah.
you felt this way forever about anything, so with the government stuff. Anything to save a buck on the tax bills. No, I don't think so, because the problem is, you know, a year or 2 years ago, the Senate and House voted $1 billion and a half to begin the funding, to begin the work on the wall. Since then, none of the money's been spent. The $1.5 billion is still sitting there somewhere. I'm sure it's been used for something else. But the theoretical $1.5 billion is sitting there waiting to be used. Now, in this man's American history, $1.5 billion in banking trade, $1.5 billion is still a lot of money. My argument is,
I would say so.
Spend the damn $1.5 billion first. They give it to him. Cut the baloney about another $5 billion. I mean, you know, pretty soon they're talking real money. That would be a total so far that would be expended of $6.5 billion. Let's figure how much does it cost to build a school? $50 million? A good school.
Oh gosh, a school, yeah, probably,
That's
yeah,
probably
50
70,
million, I think, is the most
There's
recent
70
one
or
I made,
80
yeah.
brand new schools you can build around the country. Forget the wall. You know, and the funny thing about it is, it's not even funny. All those people that have been walking since they left Guatemala 2 months ago, that army of people that were going to cross the border, they still haven't showed up. They went to Tijuana. A lot of them went to Tijuana and places like that. They didn't show up in Texas and Arizona. They don't like Arizona
Just saw a report
anymore.
this morning that there were some showing up in southern New Mexico.
Southern New Mexico.
Yeah,
Right?
where this kid that was didn't
that
have enough
died?
water, and the one that died,
Yeah,
a 7-year-old kid or something, came as part of a large group that showed up in this particular sector of the border, which has a lot of desert on either side of it, I guess.
I just think that you know we're just throwing these numbers around.
They're from
Everybody's
Guatemala, though.
Yeah, everybody's so used to these numbers now. What's another $1.5 trillion in the taxes? Give them $1.5 trillion. You know, I mean, I did a little study, just personal thing. $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion, we could have done over probably 100 to 200 big digs like we did in Boston.
God help us.
Well, God help us, but it would have put people to work. You'd be building our cities back up to where they should be instead of what they look like. They look like swamp piles, a lot of them. Anyway, I digress as usual. Why don't you kick us off with one of your favorite topics?
One of my favorite topics. Okay, here's one. I ran across this tweet. It's from David Plouffe. You know who he is?
Yeah, Plouffe. The name. Did he work for Trump or?
He was Obama's campaign
yeah,
manager
Obama,
in 2008.
Plouffe, yeah.
And then
Plouffe.
during Obama's first term, he was an advisor.
Yeah.
And he's still, you know, up there in the Democrat Party.
Is he trying to raise money or something?
And he does what he can.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, this tweet came out in June 2016. So this is when
At the meeting
Trump,
in the White
everyone knew Trump is going to get the Republican nomination. They hadn't had the convention yet, which I think was in July, to actually crown him. You know,
Trump Tower meeting was in June of 16.
So he,
So Plouffe
you know,
was-
we knew he was going to be the nominee, and Hillary was going to be the
Right.
Democrat nominee. So this is when the context in which he writes
Sure.
this tweet. Quote, it is not enough to simply beat Trump. He must be destroyed thoroughly. His kind must not rise again. Now, think about that. And when it was put out.
June
Because
16th.
this was when the Obama administration started weaponizing the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ to begin spying on the Trump campaign. They had about 5 different informers trying to infiltrate the campaign so they could inform on the FBI. So here you have the administration spying on an opposing, on a candidate, presidential candidate from the opposing party. Now, I can't say that it's never happened before, but it's never happened that we can prove it happened. Now we can prove that it happened. Now that, you want to talk about a threat to democracy, a threat to our republic? There it is. After they had spies in the campaign, we don't know what.
Where did you find out they had spies in the campaigns? I'm just trying to, because Plouffe isn't saying that.
I don't know. Plouffe is not
He's
saying
talking
that.
about Trump.
Where did I
Where
find
did the
out?
thing about the weaponizing the CIA and the FBI, where does that come from? I don't know.
It came from various files that have since been made public by the House Intelligence Committee. That this was done by the FBI, and the FBI, said that they were worried at the time about Russian influence in the campaign. Now that was their first they denied it. First they denied that they had anybody. Then names came out. How about this guy? How about this guy? How about this guy? They weren't all Americans. Some of them were Australian. Some of them were British. And then you had Christopher Steele, who was a former British secret agent, working for first the Republicans who were trying to stop Trump from getting a Republican nomination. Steele didn't work for them. It was Fusion GPS, who was Glenn Simpson. Right? He worked for the Republicans. Okay, it didn't work. Trump got the nomination. Then the Democrats hire Fusion GPS and said, continue your work against Trump,
and then they come
do
up
it
with
for
that
us.
stuff.
And then at that point, Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS hires Christopher Steele, the British guy. Christopher Steele puts together the dossier, the infamous dossier. The FBI then takes this dossier, which they know is BS.
Well,
they
I don't know about that. That's a jump. That's a leap.
Okay, you don't believe it? I believe it.
Well, I don't know, but I'm just saying I think it's a leap.
We since have learned. Are you ready to acknowledge that the dossier is BS now?
No, not
after
all
2
of it.
years?
No, not
You're
all
not.
of it.
2.5 years now we're
Not
talking.
by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, well, I think it's been proven to my satisfaction that this dossier is BS. There's nothing in there that has proven to be true.
That's not true. That's not true.
What has proven to be true? Please tell me.
I don't know the individual things, but I listened to the guy who wrote a book with his partner, with another guy, a journalist. He said that most of it, a good portion of the dossier was true. The one thing that he found still that wasn't proven out was the trip that Cohn was supposed to have made to Prague, something like that, to deal with the hackers. That he found was probably only 50-50 potentially true. I'm trying to think of Isikoff. Isikoff wrote this book with some other writer. But he said that much of the dossier is true. And it's stuff, I guess,
like
that they
what?
found. I don't know I didn't read it, I don't know. But
you just told me something that he thinks was not true.
The part of it that he thought might have been a stretch was the Cohn going to Croatia, or where that was.
Prague, Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia. And that he thought was a stretch, but most of the other stuff he said was true. Now, I don't know, because this is the stuff.
How about the pee-pee with the whores on the bed?
That was probably a stretch too.
I would
No
think.
pun intended. That might have been a stretch. So those two things in the dossier he felt were marginal. They were 50%
Cohen
likely.
now has since turned against Trump, as you know, and he's sentenced to 3 years in prison for all kinds of other stuff that he did independent of his work for Trump.
Right.
Right? So his lawyer, who was a former
Clinton
guy,
Clinton lawyer,
right?
Yeah.
I forget his name. It's not
I know
coming
who
to
you
me
mean,
yet.
yeah.
I can
I know
see
who
his
you mean.
face. Anyway, he just came out 2 days ago, and he said he never went to Prague.
Right. I mean, he did say that. I heard that. I
Yeah,
heard him say
okay.
that. I heard that guy say that.
All right,
well,
so
that's only
nothing.
one.
You haven't been able to tell me anything.
I don't know.
Well, I read the thing. I read the
other stuff-
dossier,
The
okay?
other stuff, well, come on with some of the stuff they said didn't happen. You're saying
Well, I
didn't
told
happen.
you about the pee-pee thing. That was the
Yeah,
one.
no, okay. But what about the other things? That there were meetings that were held, and there's been like 79 meetings between Russians and U.S.
Right.
people that were involved
There's
in
no
the
evidence to
campaign.
support it.
But well, here's the point.
I can't say it didn't happen, Gino.
Exactly,
But there's
well-
no evidence that it did.
None of us. So here's the point. None of us will know for sure until we see all the blacked out information that has been given up by the Flynns, by the Cohns, by all these people.
There was nothing blacked out on the dossier I read.
What
It
I'm
was about
saying,
28
yeah,
pages,
what I'm
I
saying
think,
is
or 35
we won't
pages,
know
something like that.
what they've discovered about the inner workings of the dossier until Mueller brings his charges based on testimony by someone like Flynn. Flynn was there. He knows what went on. He was talking to
He
Kislyak.
didn't have anything to
and
do with the dossier.
What?
Flynn.
He was part of but he was part of the cover-up for all the stuff that was going on at the time.
What stuff was
He
going on at the time?
He was part of the talking to the Russians about what they were going to do with all this other stuff.
Yeah, he talked to Kislyak.
Okay, he was talking to them. So, I mean, I don't know.
He
And
acknowledged that he talked to
knows.
Kislyak.
Nobody knows if this thing is phony as hell.
The
or-
FBI knew that he was talking to Kislyak
Right.
because they were
They taped him.
wiretapping Kislyak.
They got him, yeah.
Because Kislyak is a Russian diplomat. He's the ambassador to the United States, the Russian ambassador to the United States. So our CIA constantly wiretaps, surveils
Yeah.
all foreign diplomats.
Of course.
It's part of it. So what CIA does. So then Flynn was also being wiretapped because of the FISA warrant.
Yes.
The FISA warrants against
Right.
Carter Page.
Right.
Right?
Who had been meeting with Russians too.
Yes.
I mean, here's
he
the
met
thing.
with some Russians and he met with a bunch of other people. Look, wait a minute, let me finish this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Flynn, FBI, got the dossier, used the dossier to get the FISA warrant.
Right.
They had
on-
a FISA court judge. They granted
Right.
him a warrant
Right.
to spy on Carter Page.
That was a piece of
Carter
it, though.
Page
It was a piece
small-
of it. It was a part of it. Was
That's
the
what they
dossier.
say, but they won't release the FISA application so that we can verify that.
They released-
They do say that They do say this. The FBI calls the dossier unsubstantiated. That's the worst thing they'll say about it because they can't substantiate any of it. I can't prove to you, Gino, that this is all BS. I believe that it's all BS, but
Well,
I can't
you do.
prove it to you.
You have to believe it because the alternative is if you don't believe it, if you believe it is true, then we've got somebody as president who really
It's
shouldn't be there.
unsubstantiated. That's what the FBI has acknowledged.
No,
and
listen.
Comey has acknowledged it. Yet, they took this unsubstantiated dossier and represented it to the FISA judge as verified evidence of Russian interference with Carter Page and the Trump administration.
I didn't see that. I didn't see
They absolutely did do
Okay,
that.
if they did that, they had a lot of other stuff
They
too. You don't-
acknowledged that they used the FISA warrant, but they said that it was only a minor part of our application,
Yeah.
but they won't release the application so we can verify
because
if
it's
what
all
they're
top
saying is
secret
true.
until you can't have all this stuff. Look at the House
They
of
keep
Rep-
saying that they're not going to tell us because there's an ongoing investigation. That's always their cover story. There's an ongoing investigation, and it would jeopardize sources and
Okay.
methods. Sources
Since-
and methods. Sources and methods.
Okay, since this thing started, a representative named Nooms, who's the head of a
Yeah.
committee in Washington, who's been
Yeah.
trying to sabotage, as far as I
He
can
has seen
see.
the application.
He has, yeah.
Yes.
He can't talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, but they have a way. These people have a way when they've seen something to somehow get that word out there. Okay?
I mean, leak.
Leak.
Which is against the
let's-
law.
But they leak.
Which is a
They all-
felony.
They all leak.
To release
Mueller's group,
classified information is a felony.
they all leak. They're all leaking. Everybody's
Well, how
leaking.
come he hasn't leaked?
Because he doesn't agree with the findings that
We
they've
do know
got.
who has leaked.
I know what.
We know who has leaked, don't
Mueller
we?
probably has.
James Comey has leaked information.
His-
And he has been questioned under oath before this committee. Did you ever leak information to the media? No. He perjured himself, which is a felony. He also leaked information, which is a felony. And now He's still walking around, isn't he?
He's walking around.
Meanwhile,
You know why?
Paul Manafort's is in, what do you call it, solitary confinement.
Yeah, that's a whole
But
different
James
process.
Comey is going around selling his book,
That's a whole different process.
which is that I'm a choir boy,
Why?
and
No,
I'm
wait,
working with
wait,
all
wait,
these
wait. You're gonna have to
scumbags.
take a break because you're just running on here with this story. Let me. I've been away a little while, folks. Don't let him push me around. Here's the thing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm naming names, aren't
You make
I?
a statement like that, Manafort. Let's say why? Oh dear God, why is Manafort in solitary confinement?
Good
Well,
question.
Wait a minute. He had a deal with the FBI. He had a deal. He
Manafort
was
had a
out.
deal with the
Manafort
FBI?
was home.
You mean our home, Mueller?
He was home. Manafort with Mueller was home with a bracelet. And what was he doing? Can we remember what he was doing? He was contacting people that were going to probably be indicted who were involved with him and all the different things he was doing. And he was telling them what to say and what they were asking him and all that stuff. Then, to top it off, now wait a minute now. Now he plays along with Mueller and basically says, I'm on your side. Mueller finds this out. They bring him back into court. They send him to the special jail. You know, he wasn't no longer going to be in that nice little jail. And now while he's in jail, what's he doing? Through his lawyers as emissaries to Trump, they're telling Trump what Mueller's looking at.
Okay, so what's Mueller?
Now, wait a minute.
what's
No, so this is the guy.
I'm gonna let you go on.
This is the guy, now that he's in jail, you don't seem to understand why he's back in jail? He could have been home, in one of his homes.
Not only is he in jail, Gino, he's in solitary confinement.
Yes, they don't want him talking to anybody because he can't be trusted. He's a weasel. Good. Well, what'd they do to
I'm
you?
not going to argue that he's a
You
weasel.
have no point in the matter. You've
He was
just lost your
arrested.
point.
What was
Your
Mueller
point.
hired for?
Special prosecutor.
To do what? To
To
investigate,
investigate the Russia connection plus
what?
other
The Russia
things
connection with,
with the Trump campaign.
yes, in the 2016 election, right?
Yeah.
Any evidence of that yet, Gino?
Oh, I think there probably is a ton
You
of
think?
it. I don't.
What is it?
What is it?
Where is the evidence?
Oh, let me think of what it might be. It might be
Not
that
might
Manny-
be.
Wait a minute.
Where is the evidence?
Think about this, will you please? You got to take a minute and think about this.
Gino, I listened to you, and I didn't.
You're not gonna
I
say
didn't
it.
interrupt you.
No.
There is no
You tried.
evidence. There is no evidence. You've been saying to me, Tom, you're going to keep saying that you don't believe it. When the evidence finally comes out, Tom, are you going to admit that there was? You've been saying that for 2 years. Guess what? I will, if the evidence ever comes out. But guess what? It has not come out.
Will you
There
believe
is no. You're interrupting. You're interrupting.
I have to ask you a question.
No,
Will you
no, don't.
believe?
I'm making a point. Then you can ask your question.
I
There
need
is
a- I need a
no
rest.
evidence. The investigation has gone on
Yeah.
for almost 2 years.
I see.
If you don't count the FBI investigation that began when Plouffe wrote that memo that they have to destroy Trump. It's not. I mean, let
that's
me reread
political
this.
crap.
They put it in.
That's political. That they all
This
say
is a
that.
high-level Obama administration official.
Tom, his
let me-
Republican.
you-
wait a
you-
minute. Let me finish the sentence. His Republicans who were running
Let me
again.
let you finish
You know who the
interrupting
never
me?
Trump? Who were the never
Just finish.
Trumpers? Who were the never
You want to
Trumpers?
finish interrupting me. You know,
I wanna
when I
ask
start
you-
saying things that are effective, you interrupt.
No, they're not affected because the never Trumpers
I'm going
never
to put
liked
this
him
into
either.
context by
Go ahead.
rereading David Plouffe's tweet,
Yeah.
June 2016.
Yes.
It is not enough to simply beat Trump.
Right.
He must be destroyed
Right.
thoroughly.
Right.
His kind must not rise again.
Right.
That
makes sense.
That sets the stage for everything that has gone on since June
Oh, come on.
2016, and it is still going on. They are out to destroy Trump
This is your-
thoroughly and don't want his kind ever rise again. What is his kind? His kind is someone not at all connected with the Washington bureaucracy,
Okay.
Democrat or Republican. He's from outside. He
Now
is an
you've-
outsider, and that's why he got elected.
you've had him about 5
Now,
minutes.
he is what he is. He's got plenty of carbuncles. He's got plenty of faults, and they're out there for the whole world to
Okay.
see, and he doesn't even try to hide them. We
Let's-
all know what they are. Nonetheless, they are destroying him.
Okay.
And no, there's no evidence of Russian collusion, but Mueller has gone far afield, hasn't he? Manafort was arrested for nothing to do with Russian corruption in the Trump campaign, nothing to do with that, for other stuff that he did
then-
on his own before Trump.
Let me have about 5 minutes to respond to
Okay,
this
I will.
pluffiness.
Go
It's
ahead.
all pluffiness to me, okay?
Go ahead.
I can't even quote a guy named Plouffe anyway. I wouldn't do it, but you'll do it. Here's the story. Right now, there are 17 investigations among federal agencies looking at a bunch of Trump stuff. Now, I understand we're going to hear...
Talking about Congress
Yeah,
now.
we're going to hear... No. These are federal investigations and state federal investigations.
State?
New York. The Attorney
Southern
General of
District
New York.
of New York, okay.
The foundation.
It's federal, though. That's a federal.
Federal.
Yeah.
The foundation, all this other stuff. There's 17 different things they're looking at. And they're getting ready to pounce in many of these cases. You have a situation where you had Trump's family on the board of directors of a foundation that was supposedly giving away money to charity, which they weren't. They were taking money and spending it like a checkbook, and that was testified to by his CEO. Now, who was on the board? Two of his kids and his son-in-law, okay? When was the last time they met on that foundation? You know anything about foundations that give money away?
Yeah.
You know when they met last?
I've been researching the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Clinton. They're gone. They'll
You
be in
asked me
jail
if I
someday.
know anything
maybe.
about foundations,
Okay.
and I said, yeah,
The
Clinton
group
Foundation.
that says lock her up, okay?
This
What were
is
they
what?
do- Lock her up. What were they doing
lock
for the
her up,
last
yeah.
19 years ago? They had their last meeting.
19
The
years
board
ago.
of directors of the fund, the foundation.
Yeah.
That's just one thing they're investigating. The tax implications, all that kind of stuff.
Go on.
Okay? Now, there's 16 other things that are being
Why
investigated.
are we going there about this?
We're going there because what you're bringing up is something Plouffe said
Yeah.
5 years ago.
No.
4 years.
June 2016.
Okay, 2 years ago. At this point in time, that was the same month that the Trump gang of criminals were meeting in Trump Towers with the emissaries from Russia who were trying to give them information on Clinton.
Acknowledged.
Okay, we believe that. They were meeting, there's like 50 or 60 or 70 different instances when these people were meeting with Russians, people that were tied to
These people.
Trump's campaign.
People at the meeting in Trump Tower?
No, not just them. People that were tied to Trump's campaign. Flynn, Cohn, all these different people.
Meeting
were
with Russians.
Meeting with Russians, said they're in yarn.
During the campaign, not during the presidency.
During and after the campaign. That's been testified to as recently as yesterday.
Can I stop you for a minute?
Not. Let me finish this because it's a thought.
Notice how I politely asked if I could
Absolutely.
stop
You did ask, I must admit. Okay, go ahead. If you're not going to go off on a tangent, go ahead. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll take it back in a minute. Go ahead.
After the inauguration,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it the president's business and his men around him to deal with Russians?
You're absolutely right. And on the day of the inauguration, when Trump was president by then, Mr. Flynn was
Yeah.
picked up on a tape. I think it was Kislyak?
Yeah.
Kislyak. Talking to Kislyak about what they were going to do about this, what they were going to do about that.
sanctions.
About sanctions.
Yes.
How they were going to handle them now in the future.
Obama's sanctions on Russia.
All this stuff. And this is what I say to you. This stuff, when Mueller gets through with his investigation, if he comes out and there's no there, I'll be the first along with you to
Really?
say it.
Will
I
you?
think there's a ton there, okay? And I'll never,
You think?
I do believe it. I think that the reason that Flynn's judge yesterday turned and said to the prosecutor, did you ever think about indicting him for, what was it, treason? Treason.
Yeah.
Well,
That
no.
was a pretty strange
To
statement,
me,
wasn't
treason is punishable by death in most cases. Well, someone said something, well, it's not a time of war. What is the time of war? Because we've been at war for 20
it?
years.
This is a federal judge.
Yeah,
Emmett
federal
Sullivan.
judge.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
think
a
he was
guy-
a Clinton appointee.
He's a Reagan appointee.
He was?
Yes, and the Republicans think he's God. They loved him until yesterday, vis-a-vis Fox News. Oh, he'll put him down. Oh, he'll take everything. He'll do this tomorrow. And now, all of a sudden, he improves Mueller's case, not from just lying to the FBI. He improves it up to treason.
Okay.
Why? Wait a minute now. Because he's reading the blanked out pages. He's reading the things that you haven't seen
Emmett
yet.
Sullivan, the judge,
Absolutely.
is reading the.
He said,
got the unredacted.
Of course he has. And why is he? So what
Was
would you?
it was called 302s from the FBI, right?
So why do you think? Now let's say, okay, here's a Republican judge. Everybody on the Republican side said this guy's wonderful. He'll make short shrift.
I have heard good things about Emmett Sullivan.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And he comes out and says, "If you thought about citing him for treason,
Yeah.
And why would he say that?
That's a good question.
When he read those things, those redacted things, if it said, I talked to Kislyak about this and that, and then I discussed it with Mr. Trump, and Mr. Trump said, you go get him and do that, that's what he read.
Yes, but what was Flynn's role? He is a retired general. But no, I don't know if he was even retired. When
He was a three-star.
He worked in the Obama
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
administration,
Yeah.
and he was against the Iran deal.
Yes, he was.
And and Obama
Yeah.
couldn't stand him. Fired him, I believe. Obama fired
But that
him.
was under a recommendation by a four-star general, by the way,
Obama fired Flynn
on recommendation.
because of his opposition to the Obamacare Iran nuclear
maybe,
deal.
I don't know.
That's what you.
Well, because he was a general.
You're not disputing that Obama fired him,
I'm not. No.
and the reason why.
I'm not sure the reason why, because I knew there was a general
That's
that
the
said you
reason why.
shouldn't work with them. I don't know why. Maybe they.
Trump came in saying it was a bad. Always said the campaign. The Iran deal is a bad deal, terrible deal, worst deal in history, and he hires Flynn because Flynn knew it was a bad deal. So Flynn now, what's Flynn? Flynn was appointed during the transition period. Flynn is appointed National Security Advisor.
It was earlier than that. Oh yeah.
So he is getting ready to take over after inauguration as National Security Advisor. So of course he's going to talk to Kislyak. That's his job. He has to start making contact with people so he can ready to take over.
Well, the
so I
problem
don't see
is-
anything
I think the
illegal about that at
Then
all.
why did he lie about
And
it?
I don't see anything
Why did he
treason
lie
about
about it? Why did he lie about it?
I don't think he lied about that.
That's the lies they got him on. They asked him what he said to Kislyak, and he lied.
Well-
and then they said, well, here, listen to what you said. That's the problem.
He talked for he was fired by Trump. Now, okay. This one, number 2. He wants us to go to this.
okay.
Oh, it must be related to what we're
Well,
talking about.
we're getting a top shelf command from minute.
We are. The producer has pointed at
Go
this
ahead, read it
question
on.
for us
I'll try
to
to answer the question.
read. Oh, okay. Here we go. Because it's related to what we're discussing.
We're so
Do
ahead
you
of the
think
news.
Michael Flynn should serve time in prison? I'll take it.
Go ahead.
If it comes out that to answer your question about why did Judge Emmett Sullivan yesterday say you could be guilty of treason, I think it's because not anything to do with Kislyak, but because of what Flynn was doing with Turkey. Flynn had hired himself as a lobbyist to Turkey, Erdogan, and he hadn't registered as a foreign lobbyist, which is required by law.
Yeah.
And also, but what bothered me about it from when I first heard about it was, you are now the designated national security advisor, ready to take over, and you are representing a foreign government. That
wasn't
is
the
a
only
conflict
one.
of interest. Clearly,
Of course it is.
at the very least, he's got like several $100,000.
Yeah.
He was paid by Turkey. Now, if he had been doing that, I would have questioned it because Turkey's a questionable actor. But then when he didn't stop doing it, when he comes into this new influence as appointed national security advisor, to me that's very that turned me against Flynn. Okay, so that's treasonous.
It may
You're
be-
working with another country against your country?
Well, I'm not so sure that's what he was talking about. He could have been talking about that issue.
So
I don't
for
think
that,
so.
I think Flynn could go to jail to answer the producer's question. Do I think he should go to jail? I think perhaps yes, for that reason.
I think depending on the amount of information that he gives. See, in these investigations, they're always trying to get number 1. They don't want number 10 and number 11 and number 12.
They're going after Trump, like
They
Plouffe
went
said.
after exactly.
They want to destroy him.
And it's a very good reason. The same reason that the guy that went after Clinton went after him for 7 years.
Ken Starr.
And what did he wind up with? He wound up a sexual exchange in an office. None of the other stuff was ever proven.
Yep.
So
That's
once
right.
you have a special prosecutor,
Right.
it's got a formulation of what he's looking at. But if he notices a crime while he's on that road to Damascus, bang, it doesn't matter how he got it, he got it. If he sees that you've been stealing from the IRS for 30, 40 years, that information goes to the IRS. Here's my problem.
I have no problem with that.
That's exactly what's going on.
Okay.
That's why there are 17
And
groups.
he did lay off the investigation into
Southern
Cohen to the
County,
Southern
Southern
District of New
District of New
York,
York.
but it's still federal because that's a
Yes.
federal prosecutor.
But
Okay,
Trump
so that's fine. I have
can't-
no problem with that.
Trump cannot pardon him in New York. That's the problem.
It's not a state matter. It's a federal
no,
matter.
but he cannot pardon him for crimes committed in New York. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I that's what I heard. But
Okay, well, Cohen committed a whole lot of different crimes,
everything,
right?
everything.
So the only thing they've gotten that has any connection, any possible connection with Trump, was paying off this hooker, Stormy
Couple
Daniels,
hookers, yeah.
and another one, right?
and
right.
then you've got another thing.
But okay, so now if he pays off some, that I don't see that that's a crime. But then if they say they call this payoff to a former mistress a campaign contribution,
It's where they got the money. It's how they got the money.
Then that's what the media and the Democrats are saying, that this is a violation of campaign law, and that's what we can get Trump on. That's a stretch.
It's not, because it's the same thing that happened to who's the guy that was running for vice president from South Carolina?
Edwards.
He was
running for president.
He paid off. Someone gave him enough money to pay off this girl who was pregnant or
And
something
that case
like
went nowhere because it wasn't illegal.
Because it wasn't put back into the campaign. He took the money as a gift, but it wasn't.
You took campaign contributions
And gave
to pay
it
this woman
and
off?
pay the woman off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
See,
okay.
but this thing leads to. I think it's a small issue myself.
It is a small issue. I
But
mean, I don't like
against-
that the president's
it's
out there
against
diddling other women.
What he did
wasn't
was
the president
against,
then.
it was
but-
against the campaign contributions law. He broke a law the same way.
All right.
The thing that Flynn
So the
did.
Southern District of New York is dealing with that.
Right.
That's fine, not Mueller.
And the
right?
Attorney General from New York is dealing with the foundation. And the foundation's information has gone on for criminal prosecution to the IRS. And all
Okay.
these other things
Fine,
are
let 'em- that's
springing,
fine,
they're
let 'em-
having babies everywhere.
Good. Let him.
Now we've
that's
got a
what-
guy named, as
I have
appropriate,
no problem with that.
we've got an appropriate name, Mr. Pecker.
Yeah.
You know who Pecker is?
Yeah, I do.
He owns that magazine, that rag that's in all the...
Inquirer.
Okay, is it Inquirer? Yeah. Here's what they were doing, and it's so beautiful. I mean, when Trump says it's beautiful, because he's such a
He
slime
was
ball.
involved with killing a story about the other hooker that Playboy
many
model,
yeah,
right?
many stories. But Pecker, who his name is, I can't remember his first name.
Yeah, that's a just as unfortunate
Pecker
name as
and
Wiener.
Pecker,
Was his,
Pecker
go ahead,
and
yeah.
the former CEO of Trump Industries, both agreed that the money they paid to that woman, the first one, Stormy Daniels maybe, or the other one, that Playboy model.
Go on.
Yeah, that money was campaign finance problems. It was a campaign issue, the money and Cohen brought
right.
that up. And so Trump was proven again to be a liar.
All
Go ahead.
right, I'll let you finish.
Take a couple
Let
minutes.
me
No,
know
because
when
I
you
got to
finish.
get off on something that's really important here.
In my opinion, and
So
I
we
have
agree?
there's evidence, not proof.
Yeah.
Well, to me, there's enough evidence to constitute proof that Brennan of Obama's CIA,
Yeah.
Comey of Obama's FBI,
Yeah.
and Clapper of Obama's National Security
Yeah.
Agency, we know that they have all perjured themselves before congressional committee.
Maybe
they have
so.
lied under oath. Okay. Now, are they being prosecuted? No. Are they? Is Mueller investigating them? Not as far as we know. We have no information about that. The only ones that are being investigated are people who are associated with Trump. And as you said, they're going after number one. Again, I'm going to reread
I know,
Plouffe's
yeah,
statement.
no, that's right,
It
they
is not
are.
enough to simply beat Trump. This is before he even got elected.
Yeah.
He must be destroyed thoroughly. His kind must not rise again. That is the overarching principle of everything that has happened since June 2016.
But he had made an
with the
impact.
Democrats, and the Obama administration was still in power, using CIA, FBI, DOJ, National Security Agency to get and destroy Donald
Well, then,
Trump.
okay, if Comey...
And that is
here's
continuing.
Comey.
And Mueller was appointed after a leaked information, a leaked memo of FBI Director recently fired FBI Director James Comey to his buddy in the press.
Okay.
And then he asked Rosenstein to appoint his other buddy, Mueller, as special prosecutor, with the mission to find out about Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. And I agree with you that when Ken Starr was going after Clinton, he went way too far afield. He went into sexual peccadillos of Bill Clinton, which were many, but they were not related to what he was charged with investigating, which was the Whitewater real estate deal.
Here's the thing.
He went too far afield, and look what it did.
Well,
it was a disaster.
This guy's not going far afield.
Now Mueller is going too far afield.
I don't think he is, because Comey, basically in his own little way, probably gave the election to Trump. Because the way he handled it. First off, he says he was talking about the tweets, the emails, what have you. They're secret information. He was doing an investigation.
He's spying on the Trump campaign.
And he comes back 2 or 3 months later. He says there's nothing to it. Now this is Comey, a Republican, head of the.
He's saying that about Hillary Clinton.
There's nothing to it.
Yeah,
a couple of weeks before the election,
press conference. Yeah.
He comes back out about Weiner. Oh, it appears that Weiner was on the same thing, emails with Hillary Clinton and all this stuff.
Yeah, Weiner had a laptop.
And that's 6 days. No, that was 7 or 8 days before the election.
Right.
He comes back and he says to the American public, nothing to it. In the meantime, the FBI was investigating Trump for a bunch of other stuff. Okay? I don't exactly remember what the stuff was. He started to get confused over the years. There was a FBI investigation about Trump's involvement.
FBI spying on Trump.
Well, you can say spying. They were watching him for some reason. I don't particularly like the FBI either, but they're pretty damn good. They didn't mention a word about it.
Why have they all been fired then?
Wait a minute. They didn't mention a word about investigating Trump about anything.
Who didn't mention anything?
Comey. He never mentioned that to anybody at the time.
Comey was orchestrating it.
But he never mentioned it to him. If he was the guy that was trying to destroy Trump...
You don't think he was leaking information?
I don't know. I didn't read anything about Trump then.
And McCabe?
McCabe?
McCabe is deputy director who has since been fired.
McCabe is the one that interviewed Flynn in the White House.
Yes, I know.
And who was the other guy? Strzok and McCabe.
And he's been fired too.
No, wait a minute. And then Fox News comes out and says...
They've both been fired. You know why? Unethical behavior.
They were fired because of Trump.
For cause. Guess who recommended that they be fired? Rosenstein.
I have no idea.
That's
hold on. Let's look at draining the swamp. I have a part of the show I want to call draining the swamp.
You're going to change the subject? All right.
No, I don't want to change. We're just boring people. Let's see who's left. During the first 14 months of Clinton, Obama, and George Bush.
The first 14 months of their
First 14
administrations?
months, total. There were 5 people that left key jobs in the White House. Total. 3 administrations covering, 52 months. 14 months each, okay? Let's see where Drain the Swamp has done. Oh, we've had 9 major job people leave. Let's think of some of them. He was Flynn, National Security Advisor, gone.
Fired.
Cohen, lawyer for Trump, gone.
Cohen wasn't a lawyer.
Binky,
Cohen, yeah.
Secretary of the Interior, gone. Why? Swindling land. Let's see. Kelly, Chief of Staff. Kelly, Chief of Staff, gone.
Not in the first 14 months. He just got fired last week.
All right, 16 months. And we'll give him
2 years.
We'll give him 18 months. He's only been in 2 years. Chief of Staff. Let's see. Sessions, Attorney General, 14 months, gone.
Not in the first 14 months.
EPA head.
He was fired a month ago.
Yeah. All right, 17 months. Maybe I did my calculation wrong, but it's only less than 2 years.
Excuse me, he resigned.
All right. Pruitt. How many years? How long? It was over a year that Trump was telling you what a bag of crap he was.
Didn't he just resign last week too?
Pruitt, gone a few weeks ago. EPA head,
so you're not
gone.
talking 14 months, Gino.
McMaster, National Secret Advisor.
He was in the first 14 months, yeah.
Gone. Nick Mulvaney's moving up now.
Yeah.
Nick Mulvaney is the What is he?
Well, he
What's
was
his regular job? Budget.
yeah.
Budget. He's the budget head, okay? Now
He's
gonna
also a part-time chief of staff.
part-time chief of staff.
So
Because
what's your
after
point? Where are you getting at?
The point is, he was draining the swamp. Steve Bannon moved on. Why did he move on? Strange, huh? Reince Priebus moved on.
Gino, what are you getting at?
The guy is a swamp. He's a swamp himself.
What? Because
just
these
had a
people
job.
either resigned or were fired.
Come on, Tom.
So he's
for
had a lot
God's
of
sake.
turnover in his administration.
Turnover?
That's your point, right?
There's actually hundreds. I mean, these are just the top people. I mean, there are people that beat up their
So your point
wives.
is that Trump has had way more turnover in his administration in the first 2 years than the two predecessors.
Yeah, plus
I won't
McCain,
dispute that.
plus three
So
FBI.
where are we going now?
Three top FBI people.
What's your
plus
point?
Sally Yates gone. I mean, she just told him something. She said, "Hey, you got a problem with Flynn. He may be a problem." Gone. The
Why are
guy-
you going down this list now?
I don't know. It
I've
just makes me
acknowledged
sick.
it.
How about Price?
Sally Yates worked for the Obama administration.
Right, but she was
a
Attorney
carryover.
General. She was Attorney General
Because he,
for sure.
until
Wow.
he could appoint Sessions, she
Why did he
she
fire
carried
her?
on.
Why did he fire her?
Because she was crooked. She was
Oh, she
involved.
was crooked.
Yeah, absolutely was.
How about Price, the head of Health and Human Services?
I don't know anything about him.
Oh, gone. I see you forget these people.
How long are we going to do this?
It just amazes me that you want to talk about, you pick up something on like Plouffe, who no one even knows where he is now. God knows who he is. These people are all important people in the government now, and they're gone. Doesn't it affect you?
Plouffe is a spokesman for the Democrat Party. I see him on television all the time.
So what? He's nobody. In the real sense, he doesn't have any control. He's talking like we're talking. These people had control of the government, and they're gone. You don't seem to worry about that. That's the
I don't.
real news.
I know. I'm going to change the subject again.
Go ahead.
Europe is going nuts lately, right? You've got UK voted to get out of the European Union. Then the Prime Minister Elizabeth May can't seem to negotiate that.
Right.
She doesn't really want to get out of the
No,
European
and I
Union.
can understand
So she
why.
negotiated a deal that would make it seem like they're getting out of the EU without really doing so.
I don't know.
And the people of the UK are onto it. And she's almost lost her job. She barely survived the vote of no confidence.
She got a pretty good
recently.
vote, actually.
But now, and so I don't know what's going to happen. There are demonstrations in the streets. They haven't gotten violent yet.
No, they
But
won't.
they're wearing these orange vests. They started doing that, wearing
Right.
orange vests like they did in France. And why did these people in orange vests
'Cause they're fascists.
demonstrating in France? And they were violent. They were burning cars. They were wrecking property. They were clashing with the police and the military. And I mean, France is really teetering, and Macron looks like he may lose his job as president. He's only recently been
They
elected.
love him over there.
Okay, so, and then those orange vested rebellions have spread to Belgium and the Netherlands. So things are not good in Europe. It looks like Europe is cracking. The EU is cracking, certainly. And it relates to something we started off talking about when the show began, which was the wall, okay? Immigration. It's also the biggest problem in Europe. It's at the basis of the Brexit vote. Immigrate can't control their own borders because the EU controls them.
Right.
And Germany, I didn't even mention Germany yet, but they're having major issues. France is having major issues. But what set it off? What set off the first revolts of these orange shirts about 3 weeks ago, the violence that began? It had to do with Macron starting to implement the Paris Accords to prevent climate change.
Increased the
He
taxes
increased taxes
on
on
gasoline.
diesel fuel.
Yeah.
Diesel fuel. No, he
Whatever.
didn't do gasoline yet, but that was on the horizon. And people went nuts. Okay, they started burning cars. Lots of problems. Well, Macron was somewhere else. I don't know where he was. He was out of the country at the time. And now it's spread to beyond the climate change thing to all sorts of other issues that the French people don't like about Macron and the French government and the EU and all of that. So I'm pointing out that our elites, and when I say elites, I mean people running governments over the last 20 years who have decided that national borders really don't count much. And that people can come in from wherever for whatever reasons, legally and illegally, as so-called refugees or asylum seekers, and that they can go right on to public assistance, and that local people don't like this. They like France as they see their culture as being threatened by all of this immigration and legal and illegal. That is a commonality. And another commonality is that ordinary people who don't like this stuff see their elites as completely out of touch with ordinary people. And that is common to the United States, it's common to Europe, and media doesn't seem to report it in the way that I just framed it.
Well, I think you're framing it in the
with
sense
ordinary
that
people.
the thing those countries all have in common is their democracies.
Yes,
The problem I see is, there are people rioting. There's some riots in France, et cetera, and a lot of it is, as you say, because of people coming in from Syria, Jordan River, moving in and taking up space.
And climate change measures.
But the thing is, they don't have that problem in Poland, Hungary, Russia, Estonia, Latvia.
Correct.
You don't have it. The Philippines. You don't have the problem in
You
Saudi
have it in
Arabia.
the Philippines.
Saudi Arabia. You don't have the problem in Saudi. You don't have the problem in Turkey. Because those are dogmatic, authoritarian regimes, okay? Now, what we're saying here by this argument or discussion is that we should have a country more like France, more like Russia, more like Hungary, more like Poland, more like Turkey. That's the kind of government.
I'm not saying that.
That's the kind of government you're advocating when you say that because these people are rioting, they need a change of government.
Go back to Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Austria, which you cited.
I didn't say Austria, but Austria's probably one of them too.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you know what they've done? They've said, we're not going to abide by these EU regulations, saying we must open our borders to all these so-called refugees and asylees.
Exactly.
We're closing them. We don't want them in here because we don't want Muslims in our country because they don't want to become Austrians or Poles or Czechs.
Those
they
are
want
the people.
They do not want to assimilate into our country.
Those are the people that are inspiring the people to do those things the same way Brexit was put through, okay? There was someone, Farage was his name maybe, who came in. Russia was involved in targeting people there too.
Talking about Brexit.
Brexit. Russia was over there working their will, targeting. Yes, it's a fact. And what happened was it was a very slim vote. It went anti-Brexit by a small.
It was a close vote.
And our boy, supreme leader,
Trump supported Farage, yeah.
Trump went over there, and he was standing in Scotland. I'll never forget it. And he said, what a wonderful thing was, and they're going to vote, and they're going to leave Brexit. And, of course, Scotland voted for Brexit. So, I mean, even at the time...
Scotland is part of the UK, which voted Brexit.
Let's stop.
But Scotland was not really supportive.
I think it's being... The governments over there are being undermined for potentially autocratic regimes.
I think it's the Russians, huh?
I think they're deeply involved in our country now. I think there's a lot. I mean, that's been proven lately with the stuff they're picking up on. All of these things like, what do they call them, these things that people use, communication skills with the computers, all of those companies are involved in that with these emails and all this other stuff, Happy Phone and all. They've got all your records. They're collecting everybody's records.
I heard a figure the other day about what you're describing.
How many hundreds of millions?
You know how much money the Russians have spent on social media trying to cause
that was on
dissension?
Fox. It's not that. It's 15 million, I think. It wasn't much. Oh, you're going to say 4,700.
That's what I'm going to say.
That's baloney.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's baloney. I heard that too. Come on.
I also heard that during the 2016, alleged interference of the Russians using Facebook and social media, $200,000.
Yeah, okay. You know something? I believe in the tooth fairy too.
Huge.
I believe in the tooth fairy too. Okay, come on. They had a campaign going.
Well, these are audits that have
that
have been done by government.
Done by Hannity at night. Well, he's got to get some sleep.
Okay, you choose your sources, and I'll choose mine, right? And
those are not so.
That's what Americans are doing.
Look at how wrong they were. Look at how wrong they were about Flynn's hearing with the judge yesterday. Did you hear Jeanine Pirro and Hannity and all these other crackpots?
No.
There's only one guy that can.
About what? What's the issue?
About Flynn. about how this judge was going
About
to...
yesterday's court case?
Yeah, the judge was going
Sentencing
to
hearing.
condemn Mueller and his group.
Yeah.
And then
We're going
tells
back
them-
to that? I thought we covered
No,
that.
but I thought it was pretty interesting. You follow these people, and they're always wrong.
I don't follow those people.
Yes, you do.
I,
No?
no, I don't.
I thought you
I
did.
don't. No, Hannity's on.
Anyway,
Too late. I'm in bed by that time.
so here's what you support now. You support a change in governments to a more autocratic rule.
No, I don't. You're putting words in my mouth. I don't do that.
I'm just saying, well, you seem to be, you're worried about France, worried about England, worried about Austria and Germany, right? Hungary and Poland. And you're worried about them because
Am I worried
people,
about them? No, I'm not. I'm acknowledging that there is severe unrest on the part of ordinary people against their governing elites. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, maybe
I'm
if
not
the
saying
United
they should
States,
become dictatorships.
maybe the United States and Russia hadn't allowed the guy in Syria and the guys in Saudi Arabia to attack all these innocent people in the
I
Middle
don't know why you're
East.
going out and calling.
Because we are supporting people that are killing people.
Are you
and they're
suggesting that
flooding.
I support
No,
dictatorships
no,
over
but
democracies?
we have been.
That's what you're saying.
We
Jim.
have been.
You,
Our
you seem to
country-
be strongly
Our
implying that.
country is now.
What?
Our country is supporting dictatorships. We're supporting Saudi Arabia, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Are we going to arrest Osama bin, whatever
I
his
hope
name
not.
is, Ben Sultan
I hope
Mohammed?
not. No.
No, we're not going to arrest him.
We can't arrest him.
He's an old cut-up.
He's the head of another country, Gino. We don't
We
have
can
any
stop
authority to
dealing
do
with them.
that.
We don't have to show our joy at what they did. We can stop feeding the buggers.
Well, I happen to think that there's some facts about this Khashoggi dismemberment that have not been. What we keep hearing about is that Khashoggi was a columnist for the Washington Post.
Oh, he was.
All right. Well, I used to. I'm a columnist, and two papers carry me
Careful, huh?
regularly. Various websites carry me regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and occasionally others pick them up. Okay, but am I a columnist for the Portland Press Herald, or am I
No.
a columnist for the?
No.
No, I'm not. They occasionally pick up my column. Well, that's how it was with the Washington Post and Khashoggi. Khashoggi, what you never hear, except from the sources that I watch, he was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization.
Well,
And it is spawned, from the Muslim Brotherhood, was spawned Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, other terrorist organizations. Now, that is, much of the Muslim Brotherhood is supported by certain Saudi princes. Okay, so like bin Laden was. He was supported by various Saudi princes. Now, finally, we have a guy there in Saudi Arabia who is trying to get rid of Muslim Brotherhood influence in Saudi Arabia. Do I think this guy, the prince, ordered the killing of Khashoggi? I think he did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
'Cause
think
you
the
wouldn't
evidence
get away with it.
indicates that he did.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so if he did, and it was gruesome and all that, but is that a reason why we should change our alliance with Saudi Arabia against Iran? No, I don't think so.
no, but it has
I
nothing to
think
do
Trump
with
should
Iran.
say, geez, that was pretty gruesome what happened to Khashoggi there.
Yeah.
And as there's evidence that you were involved, and I don't really like that. I think that's wrong for a leader to be doing that. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to sell you a few $1 billion worth of weaponry.
No, he said
and we're gonna
$100 billion, which was a lie. Which is a lie.
I don't know how much it is.
There's nothing
How much
even.
is it?
There's nothing even. It's probably 5 or 10 billion, but it's not even in writing. It's a thing that Trump Obama
I
put
think we
together.
should continue with it. I think this is our alliance with Saudi Arabia is against Iran. Is
No matter what they
strategic,
do.
just like our alliance with Russia against the Nazis was strategic. It's the same kind of thing. And so that is
It's a
in our
totally
interest.
different argument,
That's
Tom.
in the interest of the United States to keep good relations with Saudi Arabia against Iran, because Iran is the biggest threat. That
Iran
makes
is the
sense to
biggest
me.
threat. Iran is one of the youngest countries in the Middle East. They have pretty damn good leadership. They've actually
What?
got
Iran
they've
has
got
pretty good leadership?
They got a relatively moderate leader in Iran right now. They're an intelligent. Most of the people have been to college. They understand that women should be able to drive and people have their own. They're not anti-religious. They have multitudinous religions in Iran, and the people aren't bothered. Try that in Saudi Arabia. You're defending Saudi Arabia's behavior over the current
No.
Iran behavior?
No, not their behavior.
You know
I'm
how
defending Trump's alliance with the Saudis against Iran.
His alliance
That's what I'm
is-
defending. I think it is in the United States' interest right now to be in alliance with Saudi Arabia against Iran,
Sure.
because Iran is by far the bigger threat to stability in the Middle East, which is unstable to begin with, and Iran is making it more unstable. Iran is the world's largest sponsor of terrorism.
You say that. You
The
know,
UN
you
says
say
that.
I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. I mean, you say it. Where's all the terrorism right now? Show
Okay.
me where the terrorism. What's the big terrorism stuff?
They're smuggling weapons into Hamas in the Gaza Strip, to rockets to be shot at Israel. At times they're being shot daily. Their weapons come from Iran. They support Hezbollah, which has hundreds of thousands of missiles in southern Lebanon, all aimed at Israel.
Are they going
also
yet?
have Hezbollah is in Syria near the Golan Heights, threatening Israel from that point of view.
I see. The country is living under this
They're
huge
also
threat.
they're also stirring up people in Yemen against their leaders so that they can control not only the Strait of Hormuz, entrance to the Persian Gulf, but also the Port of Aden, which is the entrance to the Red Sea.
Isn't that where
Okay, those are strategic
Saudi Arabia's
locations
been
that
bombing them?
Iran wants to control, and that is the basis of Iran's terrorist activities in all over the region. Have I
that-
said enough now
no,
for you to
because
convince
you're missing the whole point. Isn't Saudi
am I?
Arabia bombing Yemen every day?
Yes, with our help.
Aren't they killing hundreds of thousands of people?
I
Children?
I don't know about hundreds
Aren't
of
we
thousands.
helping them do that?
We are.
And you're defending that. See, this is what I don't understand about you people. I really don't. You're defending brutal behavior by dictators.
You know, there is no such thing as a war that is not brutal.
It's not a
Now,
war.
I'm not saying
It's not a war,
that the
Tom.
way I don't know enough about the day-to-day operations or how many people are being killed and whether they're innocent civilians or whether they are proxies of Iran. I know some of the people that the ones that are being targeted are proxies of Iran. That Iran is trying to destabilize that whole region so they can control the Port of Aden, which is in Yemen. That's the strategic goal
Yeah.
of Iran.
So
They've
let's-
already threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, which they own the half of. Okay, so those are important things. That's what Iran
but
is
these things aren't
after.
happening. We know that Saudi Arabia, with the United States' complicity, is bombing Aden, right?
That's correct.
So
Not Aden. So
but
the
it's
country
one
of
those
Yemen.
countries, like Yemen. So what's going on there is actually happening. Thousands of people are dying.
Yes.
And most of them aren't Americans
Some
or
many are
Saudis.
starving. It's a terrible
You know?
situation. It's a war, yes.
But you say that the reason this war is going on is because Hezbollah has some people in there doing some
Not
damage
Hezbollah.
to
Hezbollah is not in Yemen.
Iran. The
Iran
Iran
does,
government
yes.
somehow. And
Yes.
Iran has got all these missiles in
That is
Lebanon
true.
that are aimed at Israel.
Yes.
And Iran is getting.
In
And what's
in
going
the
on?
Gaza,
The only people dying are people that belong to Iran and these other
in this
countries.
supposedly reasonable government that you call Iran, they
not saying they're
say that
reasonable.
they have rallies to death to America, death to
They're-
Israel. We're going to wipe Israel off the map, and they've been saying it for decades, and that is their goal. And Israel is our biggest
You ever
ally
have
in
a
the whole
goal to be a
region.
multimillionaire?
Okay, we're almost out of time, so
They got a
we have
goal?
we have to wrap it up. So we get heated as we often do, and
Well,
but
at least we tell the people something they haven't heard on some of these other shows.
maybe so, maybe so. I hope so.
Gotten
I hope we've shed some light on it from different perspectives.
Yeah, we've
I
done
think
it
it's
in
a
a
good thing
purely
to
democratic
do.
fashion.
I mean, you look at the world one way, I look at the world another way.
You look
we
at
have
the-
we have a lot of overlap, and more than we
Underlap.
more than we demonstrate here.
How much time we got?
But 1 minute.
All right. You know, it's Christmas week.
Yes,
Next week.
it is.
And we should say a little something.
Thank you for
about it.
saying Christmas. Yes.
Well, it is Christmas.
It is
And
Christmas,
it's New
but
Year's,
some
it's
people
Christmas.
say
it's also Kwanzaa.
it's holidays.
It's also Festivus. Some people love
What's that?
Festivus is an old custom.
I never heard of it.
Born in South Korea,
Festus.
way back in the day, when George's father was in the military, and he discovered Festivus. They have a test
I don't know
of
where the hell
strength.
you're going on this,
You have a
Gino.
test of strength. They put up a pole in the middle
Well,
of the
happy
room.
Festivus to
and
you,
it's a
Gino.
Festivus. It's a super holiday.
Yeah, I hope you have a good one.
And
All
don't
right?
forget the Boxer day after Christmas.
Yeah, okay.
All right, all these things happen.
Wonderful, yeah.
There's so little that we know if we
Yeah.
don't talk about it. But everybody, Merry Christmas, happy all holidays, whoever you might be. Same to you, Tom, and yours.
Merry Christmas, everybody. See you next year.